Hello everyone, welcome back. So we're going to be going through another London breakout session. So as always, what we're looking to do is mark on our charts in a sort of in the rectangle tool on TradingView, just to outline the Asian session which has happened on the 5-minute chart. So we're going to go from the exact highs of that of the Asian zone to the lows, and we're going to mark on our charts up to 7 o'clock, which hasn't gone just yet. And what we're looking for is for price to break out. You know what, I'm going to try and draw this properly. We're looking for price to break out and stay out. And then what we would do is we would enter right on the close of that candle. We'd set our stop basically at the nearest swing point. So it would be, let's say for example, it just went straight down now and stayed out. Nearest swing point would be just above there. And then our, sorry, I've just screwed up the charts. So nearest swing point, so the stop would be there, entry may be here, and then it would be a 1-to-1, which would be about here. But what you can do for more advanced traders, you can actually keep hold of your trade beyond this. I would recommend closing out half of your trade, bring your stop to here, so you're essentially using house money at this point, and you take off half of your trade here, and then you leave it to run. Because what we've got this morning is we've actually got a bit of not range activity, but it's gone into a bit of a trend overnight. So price is clearly moving down, and what you typically get in the London breakout session is that price, as soon as it breaks out, it typically runs for the width of the breakout. Or the width of the Asian session, sorry, so 54 pips. You would most likely get in total 54 pips from here. So our second target would be somewhere in the region down here. So that's what I'll be doing again this morning. Obviously, you shouldn't set pending orders on the bottom or the top of the Asian session, purely because you can get faked out. And if you do get faked out, all what happens is that price comes back inside this range, and you probably don't have at that point your set stop losses, because you need to essentially see where the most recent swing was. So, but you can do a set order, but it's not recommended for this phase. So what I'll do is I'll pause the screen and I'll come back to it once we have some sort of action going on. I hope for this to take place before 10 AM, otherwise the probability of this trade happening reduces drastically. But it's 6:57, hopefully we'll come back at 5:07, but I'll just pause it regardless. Cheers. One thing I forgot to say is it is worthwhile putting on alerts just near the top and near the bottom, because that should give you 5 minutes or so, or at least a couple of minutes before price breaks out the bottom, and you need to look at setting your stops and taking profit and stuff. So or setting target, sorry. So that's what I'm going to do, because I need to leave my desk at the moment, but I will be back. It is 7 AM now, so it's just the start of the open. I would expect to see that it probably makes a bit of a shift in the next couple of minutes, because this is one hell of a tight range, apart from this sort of movement here, but this is a very tight range. So I would expect a bit of a push now that there's going to be volatility in the market, but again, I will check back shortly. Right guys, so we are back and it is 9:20, so a good couple of hours since I last looked at the charts. Just had an alert to say that price is breaking out of the zone, so I'll come back to my computer. Excuse my phone there, I'm just going to mute that. Right, so what we should be doing is looking where we are going to place our stops. Now typically I would say that your stop should be up here, which is essentially the nearest swing, and our target should be double wherever that is, so roughly in that sort of region there. So that is what I'm going to do if price closes, and it did. So I'm just going to measure the distance, and the measurement of that is basically there to here. So 33 pips is what our target is going to be. My apologies, it's not going to be from there, it's going to be from here. So the target will be 27 pips. So 27 pips. So what that's going to look like when we're short in this position is going to be from the close of this candle, with there as our stop, and just a couple of pips higher. And then we're going to move this down to a 1-to-1. Now the plus side with this is that you don't need to pay attention to the previous support and resistance lines. Like what you can see, there's a trend line going through here, which is the area in yellow, and this being a resistance line or a support line. You don't need to pay attention to that because the London breakout session rarely does care too much about these zones. So what I'll do is I'll check back in the near future, and we'll see how this trade plays out. Just a few minutes later, something which I just realised, which is worth saying, is that the zone which is being broken out of, about 40% of the time it will travel the whole zone out. So the zone for the Asian range is actually 54 pips. So what we're doing is we're targeting 27, which means realistically we could target a 2-to-1, which is what I'll be doing. So I will look to take off half of my trade at 1-to-1, move my stop to break even at that point. Therefore I'll just be trading with essentially the house money, and then I will be looking to take it down to 2-to-1. But you could say, looking at this as well, because the general shape of it is that there's actually two zones in this Asian session. So price broke through this area here and it just went sideways. So you could say that this is the sort of first zone and this is the second zone, but we're not going to treat it like that. We're just going to treat it like how we're meant to, and we've got our stop loss in the right place, we've got our targets in the right place, and we're going to go from here. So I will check in with the result of the trade. Hey guys, so the time is 10:16, and what we've seen so far, just wanted to do a quick check back and show you. Price actually came straight back in on us, and it reached the basically the support line here, which turned into a bit of a resistance, which was a bit of a relief, which is why you shouldn't watch your charts. But just looking back at this, I can see what's happened. And it has started moving down towards our 1R. So 1R is here, and 2R, so 2 times your reward is going to be, well, call it there, somewhere in the range down here. So pretty soon I'm going to be taking off half of my trade, hopefully, if it reaches down here, and I'll be moving my stop down to here. Now you could say, because price has already made it swing and it's reached this area here and it's come back down on itself, that we could move our stop to here. Well, that would still invalidate the trade. Now I always try to target as a stop loss the nearest swing rather than looking at this area of resistance. So I always try to go on this sort of basis, but what we'll see hopefully is a trade playing out, and I will check back in with you shortly. Right then guys, so just come back again, just checking the different time frames here, just to check with another trade which I've got on this pair. So we've got about 3 minutes left to go on this 5-minute candle. Hopefully we're going to watch the pound drop a little bit further, hit our first take profit, and then what I will do is I will basically be moving my stop loss to break even and aiming for 2. And there is a bit of a reason for this. If I look at the 4-hour chart, the price is clearly in a falling market, so there is very little need for me to worry too much about price returning on itself. So I'm going to keep this trade running. Ideally, it could come all the way down to here, but that's besides the London Breakout Strategy session. So here we go. It has just reached. It's just reached. So I'm going to come across to my other trading platform. I'm going to be lowering my break even. There we go. And now we're going to be aiming for 2R. You know what? Let me just work out on the charts where that is first, just for demonstration. There we are. And this is the new target. So hopefully we're going to see price come straight down. It looks as well, what you would normally expect is a bit of a pullback before shooting off, but this one looks like it's going with such momentum it's probably not even going to pull back. So I'm just going to hold on to this trade and see where it goes. But yeah, I will check back in soon. Hey guys, so we are back again. Unfortunately, I just missed recording the close. I was outside in the garden and I literally just didn't hear my phone go off. So what we had in summary was our original stop loss set up here. We had our original target somewhere in the region of down here. Price broke out on this red candle just here. So we entered the trade on this line. Price came back against us a little bit. Then it came down, hit our target, but with this, I call this a momentum candle. So this longer red candle here, I call this one a momentum. It basically shot through, and I know that it shot through a major support resistance area. So I decided to hold the trade and go for a 2-to-1. And basically what's happened is that it came back against us for a little bit, for about 25 minutes, came down, hit profit, and it looks like it's going to continue going. So this is just to prove to you that on days where it decides to run, the London breakout is actually a fantastic strategy, because as I mentioned before, it typically goes from the overall height of the range again in the other direction. So if we just measure this again, just to double check, because it's been for me about 4 hours since I looked at it, call it 55 pips. This should theoretically be about 55 pips. Yeah, it is. Yep, so 55 pips, and that is normally where you would close a trade. This is particularly useful, especially if, let's say for example, there's a real tight range within the Asian session. So let's say that there wasn't this area up here, and it was purely just between this this yellow line and the bottom of this box. This would have been just the perfect sort of setup, because again, you'd set your target there. It would just continue going the same way which it has done. Just the London breakout tends to work 55-60% of the time, and I do this most days where I can get up early enough to do it, but it is worthwhile trying to be at your desk for about 6:45, just so you can mark out with the box feature basically the Asian session. I always go wick to wick, so I try not to go just on the close of the candles. If you did, you might save yourself a few pips, but generally speaking, the market tends to react better to a breakout and a close outside of the furthest wick, and that's just from experience. But hopefully this has been a pretty good video for you, and if you've got any questions, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Cheers guys.